Leanna Hawkins, and we are at the 2023 Deal Making Summit. I'm joined today by Scott Estill, Managing Partner at Lancor. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Scott, I would love to know a little bit about what makes your firm different. We talked earlier about executives driving deal making, and your network of executives and people in the industry that you've been building for many years goes into that. How did you build your network in this space, and what type of executives are you working with now?
Sure. Well, the idea is I spent most of my life as a banker and figured that the numbers had all the answers, and they're important, but really the differentiated alpha comes from executives saying, hey, this is an interesting business. I used to run it or used to compete against it or run one of the competitors. Here's what I wish I knew then, what I know now. And that's gold for an investing professional, because the books, that, as my former life as a banker, the books come out and they look pretty and everything's in the top right quadrant. Is it true? Maybe, maybe not. But if you have someone who said, this is a path that I wish I had taken, you get better insight on what to do from day -70, not just once you buy the asset and you lift up the hood and you say, oh man, I wish I'd known this was what this company was like. Too late, you already own it. Mm-hmm. So that's where we spend our time, because it's two sides of our business. One is, one, we do search. We do 120 searches a year for private equity firms, but that gives us access to super interesting executives who can say, I would like to join a board, I would like to co-invest, maybe I want to run this business. So we get angles on deals before a private equity firm invests in that asset.
Okay. And so in your career personally, how did you build up such a network? Obviously through working in investment banking, but other ways as well, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think it's interesting when you either are excited about spending time with people and listening to where they've been successful and why, or you have to shine it on. And hopefully over time, if it's authentic, it's real. So if you actually believe that executives are the cornerstone of driving value, then they're obviously going to agree with you, because it's in their best interest. But you spend time thinking about, all right, how can I help this person who's been good at A and B and C be helpful with D, E, and F and G? And so having an authentic view on how can you drive better returns, and the executives find that interesting. In the private equity firms that we've been lucky enough to partner with, lower middle market, upper middle market, bulge bracket, most of them are finance professionals like me, and they're not really operators for the most part. So as the private equity industry has evolved, it's important to drive operational insights earlier. So that's sort of appreciating that is a breath of fresh air to most executives, where they say, I'm glad someone actually agrees that it's the operators that are driving the value, not just the numbers.
Mm-hmm. And it sounds like you work with quite a breadth of different types of clients at Lancor. Tell us more about that client portfolio.
Yeah, so I think whether it's the largest bulge brackets of the world that are investing in truly billion-dollar EBITDA businesses and carve-outs and take privates, or it's a lower middle market business that's got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of EBITDA, it's the same problem. How do I get smarter on things before I own it, so I can make a more informed decision on, whether it's going to require a lot of improvement in the business and be thoughtful about CapEx and all the technical things you're going to do. I just want to know beforehand, like, what am I getting into? And it's okay if it's a sort of a J curve where things go down a little bit before they come up. I just want to know that so I can put that into my investment thesis. So whether it's lower middle market all the way through to the largest of the private equity firms, they all have the same problem, which is getting better insights earlier and not waiting till once you own it and you say, oh, geez, maybe this is going to work. We're just going to give our person more time. Let's be thoughtful about before we own it, as I said, and then make a decision on where to go.
Mm-hmm. And I'd love to get a little bit of your forecasting insights as well into 2024 and beyond. Where do you see the most opportunity that is the least talked about in M&A?
Yeah, well, and everyone talks about, debt's doubled and interest rates, what are they going to do, and tax issues, and there's systemic and non-systemic risk. I think the opportunities, most of the private equity firms now are more and more specialized in individual teams, although they may cover a lot of industries. So I think those specialized industry professionals need to look at these, well, I'm biased to say this, but look at the executives and say, listen, you spent 25, 35 years burning calories in this sub-sector of business services or healthcare consumer. What would you do? Mm-hmm. And that is, for our business, that's helped us see around corners and see things that aren't just another, respectfully HVAC company or whatever's the flavor of the month. Those are good companies and they can make good returns, but how do you see things a little earlier? And I would argue, do you want to find businesses that you find interesting, not just the ones that are for sale.
I would love to hear just one last example or case study, maybe something that we talked about earlier.
Yeah, sure. So like one of my favorites is we were looking at a logistics business with a private equity firm, and we decided not to buy it. And so I asked the executive, okay, logistics expert, what would you do? And he said, well, you know what's a great logistics business? It's pet cremation. And that was my favorite because I was like, all right, why pet cremation? I'll be your straight man. And he said, listen, it's a B2B model. We are the vets in the cremation facility. It's a hub and spoke model because depending on topography, you can go out 50 miles for a jurisdiction standpoint. But it's got 70+% EBITDA margins because people are borderline irresponsible what they're going to pay for their pet. And when their pet dies, they want some sort of memorabilia or tchotchke or diamond or things you can do there. So the point there is a great example of, did I ever think that was even a business? Of course not. But there's so many of these out there that are compelling and have good returns. You just need to be thinking a little bit differently around where you'd spend your time, and you can find these businesses that are, growing and have great margins.
And the right network of experts in the space to be able to bring those ideas to you.
Right, because you need to find people that are both, as we talked about, intellectually curious and humble. And those don't go together often in this world, but when they do in an executive, they're seeing things more clearly and you make better returns because we don't have all the answers day one. But you need to have the mindset to understand that, how do I think about things in a different way and more clearly? And those two qualities need to be present in the best returns.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for your insights today, Scott.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And thanks for watching M&A TV.